Chairman,
Not agree to.
One more amendment, Senator Sanders.
call up Sanders Amendment number 5. This amendment provides for the consideration of a definition of anti-Semitism set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination laws concerning education programs or activities and for other purposes. Once again, I think the point that we want to make is that in our country, people have a right to express their point of view, whether it is against the policies of the Israeli government or any other government or on any other issue.
I'd like to speak for the amendment. Senator Paul. Senator Paul.
Yes, I'd like to begin by asking unanimous consent that we enter into the records the names of 400 Jewish American comedians who have referred to Jews in stereotypical language, which perhaps may be condemned by this bill, and I'd like to at least have their names introduced in the record as with my assertion.
Without objection.
When we think about, you know, even saying Jews are funny is a stereotypical allegation, and I know some Jewish people who aren't, so it really obviously cannot be true of all Jews. But I wanted to read one, though, that I thought was pretty. I was looking through these this morning, and there's just so many. I just didn't know how many Jewish comedians we had. This one's from Joan Rivers. She says, "I'm Jewish. I don't work out. If God had wanted us to bend over, he would have put diamonds on the floor." And that's obviously very negative, that Jewish people think only of money and stuff. But she's Jewish, and it's funny, but, you know, or it's not funny, but it's just her right to, you know, make a joke. But most jokes are about stereotypes. If you look at most of the Seinfeld episodes, there's the one on Native Americans and the totem pole and scalping of tickets and all these things that you're not supposed to say anymore. And, you know, we become a humorless society if we want to restrict people's speech. And some of it is bad speech. And, you know, I'm not going to a rally where people say Hamas is great. I think Hamas is awful and evil and committed murder and it's a massacre. But at the same time, I don't want to prohibit speech and protests on college campuses. And I just think it's a huge mistake, and realize that we are enforcing the Department of Education that has armed police to now enforce this new speech code.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Senator Scott.
Thank you. Once again, I'll just reiterate the fact that one can say whatever they want to. That's protected by the Constitution. That's not even in question. The question is the conduct that follows. If the conduct itself is unlawful, the question is why. The examples in this legislation only provides direction on why. The conduct, not the speech, is what's in question.
I would, Mr. Chairman,
For time
briefly respond to Senator Scott. There are people in jail right now, who have not had any due process. You know why? They wrote an op-ed in their student newspaper.
The activity.
But according to this law, according to this bill, however, that would not be the case with this bill.
I'd like to also
You're
respond.
talking about something that's already there.
No, we got to move. The activities in
I'd like
question
to
are already
respond.
protected by the rule of
I'd
construction.
like to have a vote on overruling the chair on whether I can have a minute to respond to the debate. And so let's have a vote on whether or not the chair gets to just dictate that we have no freaking debate over the First Amendment. I was looking for a minute, 2 minutes to respond to this, and not in a mean way. I like Senator Scott and respect him. I disagree with him on this, and I want to make a point.
We can have the vote and you can speak while we talk. But by the way, just to let you know, we are calling the floor to see if we can have a reconsideration of the 2-hour limit upon this committee hearing. I would ask none of my colleagues on the Democratic side to go to the floor to object. I would ask you to contact your floor leaders and ask them to not object. If you're truly interested in having a fulsome debate and not just using this as a way to kill the bill, then I would ask you to call your floor leader and ask not to put the 2-hour debate on us. I am operating under a constraint created by the minority. And I'm sorry about that, but we've got to get through the
Can I
legislation.
simply have 1 or 2 minutes and we don't have to vote to
One
overrule
minute.
the chair?
1 minute.
I'm not going to play that game. I
Oh,
mean.
I'm sorry, then we gotta
60
go.
Seconds, then I make a motion that we overrule the chair on not allowing any kind of response to debate. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you, 2 minutes.
Yeah, if the House can declare 1 day is the whole year, he can take 2 minutes, and
take
we'll
2
call it
minutes.
1 minute.
All right, very quickly, and I consider Senator Scott to be a friend. I would never insult him or say anything bad about him. But the notion that all this is about activities and not speech is belied by the 11 examples, because the words they use are calling for. Those are words. Making mendacious allegation. Those are words. Accusing Jews. Those are words. Denying the fact of the Holocaust. Those are words. Accusing the Jews as people. Words. Every one of the 11 examples of anti-Semitism is words, not actions. And it's interesting, when the chairman started this whole debate, he said, well, students shouldn't be allowed to take over campus. Well, absolutely not. And that has nothing to do with speech. I wouldn't let students put up tents. I wouldn't let them do all that stuff. I wouldn't let them block students. I'd put them in jail for doing some of that stuff. But that's not speech.
Correct.
But if somebody gets up and says the river to the sea or whatever, you're going to put them in jail and stop them. That's speech. You can't regulate speech. Every one of the 11 examples is about speech. It is
Senator-
not about actions.
Sir Bowler, you yield? You're within your 2 minutes, by the way? Well, simply stated, the examples point to the why the conduct that follows the speech is anti-Semitic. The examples, you can say every one of the 11 examples and not have any challenges as long as your next act isn't a conduct or harassment.
But it
or
doesn't say
challenge.
that.
But the bill itself does. The examples are there simply to give the why.
That's why we should get rid of
conduct.
the examples to get rid of. I'd be for your bill if we got rid of the examples. Because the examples make it very confusing. The examples are all speech, not activities.
But the examples are not there to suggest that your speech is the issue, it's the conduct.
We don't know that because they're listed as examples of anti-Semitism that apply to the definition. We could simplify all of this and all be on the same page if we got rid of those definitions. Those definitions make it very, very confusing.
We shall vote on the amendment. The chair shall vote no. The clerk shall call the roll.
Senator Paul? Aye. Senator Collins? Senator Collins?
She is a no by proxy. I mean, yes by proxy.
Senator Wachowski? Senator Mullen?
No by proxy?
Senator Marshall? Senator Scott? Senator Hawley? Senator Tuberville?
No by proxy?
Senator Banks?
No by proxy?
Senator Heasted?
No by proxy?
Senator Moody?
No by proxy?
Senator Sanders?
Aye.
Senator Murray?
Aye by proxy.
Senator Baldwin?
Aye by proxy.
Senator Murphy? Senator Kane? Senator Hassan? Senator Hickenlooper? Senator Markey? Senator Kim? Senator Blunt Rochester? Senator Alsobrooks? Senator Murkowski? Chairman Cassidy?
No.
I have 13 ayes, 10 nays. The amendment's agreed to.
Sounds good.